My brothers and sisters, there are moments in life when everything collapses at once. The plans you trusted, the people you relied on, the stability you thought was permanent. And in that shock, you start asking, why is this happening to me? But listen carefully. Not every collapse is a disaster. Sometimes Allah shakes your life because you would never move if He didn't. Sometimes the only way He can redirect you is by removing the things you are holding on to too tightly. What feels like a breakdown might actually be the beginning of your real breakthrough. My brothers and sisters, when everything around you feels like it's collapsing, the first thought that comes to mind is usually, why is this happening? But that question is incomplete. The real question is, what is Allah trying to show me through this? Allah does not break a believer, He strengthens them. But strength is not built through comfort, it's built through moments that expose your dependence, your assumptions, and your direction. Sometimes you think your life is falling apart, when in reality, it's falling into place in a way you could never have designed for yourself. There are times when Allah removes a person, a job, an opportunity, or a plan you were attached to, not to punish you, but because you were leaning on it more than you were leaning on Him. And when that support is taken away, you finally start turning back to the one who never fails. Allah tells us, you may dislike something while it is good for you, and you may love something while it is harmful for you. Allah knows while you do not know. This is not theory, this is life. Every one of us lives this verse at some point. When life shifts suddenly, it's Allah redirecting you. When a door shuts with no explanation, it's Allah telling you that you are walking towards something that would harm you. And when you feel lost, confused, unsure of the next step, it's Allah reminding you to rely on Him again. So don't let the collapse fool you. Don't judge the moment while you're still inside it. Allah's plan is unfolding even when you don't understand it. And the path He chooses for you is always better than the path you would have chosen for yourself. One of the hardest truths to accept is that not everything we build is meant to last. We get attached to people, places, opportunities, routines, and dreams because they feel familiar. We convince ourselves they're strong, stable, and good for us simply because we've invested time and emotion into them. But not everything that stands is strong, and not everything we hold on to is actually helping us grow. Sometimes Allah lets something collapse to expose what you were trying very hard not to see. There are relationships that look beautiful from the outside, but underneath the surface there's dishonesty, manipulation, or a complete lack of sincerity. You think you have a friend, but in reality you're dealing with someone who benefits from you, not someone who genuinely cares for you. You convince yourself the bond is strong because you've shared years together, but years don't make something real. Sincerity does. And Allah, in His mercy, sometimes removes that friendship from your life, not to hurt you, but to show you that you were pouring your heart into something built on a shaky foundation. This happens in many areas of life. You might be in a job that was never healthy for your faith, your peace, or your character. Maybe you tolerated an environment full of stress, disrespect, or pressure because you believed you needed the money, the title, or the stability, but deep down, you knew it was pulling you away from your prayers, your values, your family, or your mental well-being. You held on to it because letting go felt risky, and then one day, unexpectedly, the job collapses. You lose it, or the company changes, or the environment becomes unbearable. And while the first reaction is fear, if you step back, you may realize Allah removed you from a place that was quietly damaging your soul. We don't usually notice what's weak when everything is calm. Weak structures only reveal themselves when pressure comes. That's why a lot of people only discover the true nature of their relationships, plans, or faith when life becomes difficult. Hardship doesn't create cracks. It simply reveals the ones that were already there. Think about a building. From the street it might look impressive, tall, shiny, solid. But if it's built on a poor foundation, one earthquake is enough to show you the truth. Life works the same way. Allah knows that if the foundation is faulty, the structure will eventually harm you. And instead of letting you collapse inside it later, He allows it to fall now, when you can still walk away, rebuild, and grow. Sometimes the collapse happens because you built something on ego rather than guidance. You made decisions based on pride, competition, or the desire to prove yourself. You stayed in situations because you wanted approval from people who didn't even value you. You chased goals because society called them success, not because they were good for your heart or your hereafter, and Allah, out of His mercy, lets those plans fail. He removes the things you pursued for the wrong reasons so you can return to what actually matters. A collapse can also reveal hidden dependencies. You might think you trust Allah, but in reality you trust your bank account, your relationship, your job, your reputation, or your routine more than Him. Then, when one of those things disappears, you are forced to confront a hard truth. Your heart was tied to the gift, not the giver. And Allah removes the gift to bring you back to Him before it becomes a form of worship without you realizing. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that what's familiar is always good. But familiarity just means it's known. Not necessarily right, not necessarily healthy, and not necessarily aligned with your purpose. You can get used to being drained. You can get used to being mistreated. You can get used to living far below what Allah intended for you. Sometimes Allah has to shake your life so you finally recognize the difference between comfort and stagnation. A collapse can also reveal that you are carrying responsibilities that weren't yours. Some of you take on emotional burdens that were never meant for you. You try to fix people who don't want to change. You hold families together alone. You give second chances to people who only take advantage. You say yes to everyone because you're scared of disappointing them, and eventually your life becomes a collection of obligations placed on you by others, and then something collapses. A relationship ends, a role is removed, a door closes, and though it feels painful, the truth is that Allah may be lifting a burden you should never have carried to begin with. Every collapse has a message hidden inside it. It might be telling you, stop pretending this was good for you, or let go before it destroys you, or you were building your life around the wrong things. Sometimes it says, you're meant for something greater, but you would never move unless this fell apart. The collapse is not the punishment. The collapse is the correction. It's the moment Allah shows you the truth you were too attached to avoid. And while you might feel hurt watching something fall apart, you must remember that Allah sees the cracks you cannot. He sees the future you cannot. He sees the danger you cannot. And when He takes something away, it's not random, it's protective. So instead of asking, why did this fall apart? Ask, what weakness was Allah exposing for my benefit? Because only when the weak parts fall away can you begin to build a life on a foundation that is sincere, stable, and pleasing to Allah. One of the most uncomfortable but powerful realities in life is this: we learn more about ourselves during hardship than we ever do during ease. When everything is smooth, when the plans work, when the people around us are supportive, and the comfort is uninterrupted, we rarely stop to examine who we truly are. Comfort can make you blind. It can make you overlook your weaknesses, ignore the unhealthy patterns in your life, and delay the inner changes you desperately need. But when hardship arrives, it shines a bright, unfiltered light on the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. And as painful as that can feel, it is one of the greatest gifts Allah gives a believer. Hardship forces honesty. Not the surface level honesty you present to others, but the brutal honesty you need to confront within your own heart. And you start noticing things about yourself you never paid attention to. You realize how emotionally dependent you were on something temporary. You recognize how easily influenced you became by the approval of people. You discover how weak your trust in Allah actually was. Despite telling yourself you were firm, when you lose something you thought you couldn't live without, you quickly see where your real attachments were. Ease hides your blind spots. Hardship exposes them. And exposure is painful, but it's necessary for growth. Many people go through years of life without ever challenging their habits or beliefs. They stay in the same routines, repeat the same mistakes, and surround themselves with the same influences. Then something unexpected happens. Loss, failure, heartbreak, illness, betrayal, and suddenly the life they were sleepwalking through comes to a halt. The pause that pain creates is often the only moment they truly look inward. Think about it. When everything is going well, very few people ask themselves, am I spending my time wisely? Are my relationships healthy? Is my heart connected to Allah? Are my priorities in the right order? Am I becoming the person Allah wants me to be? But when hardship hits, these questions rush to the front. They become unavoidable. This is why Allah tells us that He tests us with fear, hunger, loss, and difficulty, not to crush us, but to wake us up. Tests are wake-up calls. They push you to reflect on how you're living, what you're chasing, and who you're becoming. Without those moments, you would drift deeper into distraction without realizing how far you've gone. My brothers and sisters, hardship also forces you to face the truth about the people around you. When you're comfortable, you assume everyone who smiles at you is sincere. You assume every friend is loyal, every partner is committed, every companion is beneficial. But when difficulty comes, you see who stands with you and who disappears. You see who was there for benefit and who was there out of genuine care. Hardship exposes the truth about others just as much as it exposes the truth about you. And while that truth may hurt, it protects you from wasting time, trust, and heart on the wrong people. Another thing hardship reveals is your emotional habits. Some people run away, some shut down, some blame others, some spiral into negativity, some pretend nothing is wrong, but some grow, some learn, some rise, and you won't know which one you are until you're tested. Pain demands a reaction, and in that reaction, your true self is revealed. Hardship also forces you to return to Allah. When times are easy, many people delay their prayers, neglect their Quran, ignore their spiritual health, and run after distractions. But when life hits them with something heavy, suddenly the heart remembers its creator. The dua becomes sincere, the prayer becomes consistent, the tears become real, the dependence becomes genuine. This return is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of awakening. Hardship pulls you back to the one who was waiting for you to come back. It strips away the illusions you relied on and reminds you who truly protects, provides, and heals. Another important truth is this: hardship reveals what you've been avoiding. Many people live years suppressing their emotions, avoiding accountability, escaping responsibility, or ignoring their wounds. Then a test comes, and all those buried feelings rise to the surface, not to punish you, but to finally be healed. You cannot fix what you refuse to face, and Allah brings hardship to force that confrontation so you can finally move forward instead of carrying the same pain through every chapter of your life. Hardship also teaches humility. When life is going well, it's easy to feel in control. You assume your success is because of your hard work, your intelligence, your decisions. But when something collapses beyond your control, you realize how dependent you truly are on Allah's mercy. You realize how small you are and how much you need Him, not just in times of crisis, but in every breath, every moment, every decision. This humility purifies the heart from arrogance and reconnects you to your purpose. Hardship makes you more compassionate, more patient, more understanding, and more humble, if you allow it to shape you. My brothers and sisters, hardship doesn't only break you, it rebuilds you, but only if you reflect, only if you pay attention, only if you allow the lesson to change you. So the next time life hits you with something painful, don't only ask, why is this happening? Ask, what is this exposing inside me? Because the test isn't random, it's a mirror. And sometimes the mirror shows you truths that comfort never will. Hardship forces self-reflection because reflection is the doorway to transformation. And Allah only pushes you toward reflection because He wants something better for you, in your character, in your heart, in your deen, and in your future. My brothers and sisters, one of the most misunderstood forms of divine mercy is when Allah takes something away from you. To the human heart, loss feels like punishment. It feels like rejection. It feels like something went wrong. But in reality, there are times when Allah removes something from your life, not because you didn't deserve it, but because it was blocking what He does want to give you. You cannot grow while holding on to things that are shrinking you. And many times we grow attached to people, habits, environments, and opportunities that are quietly limiting our potential. But we become so emotionally invested that we refuse to let go. When something becomes too heavy for your heart to drop on its own, Allah may remove it for you. And yes, that removal can feel painful. Losing something you thought you needed always hurts, but that pain is temporary. The growth that comes after is permanent. Sometimes Allah removes a person you were deeply attached to because that person was influencing you in ways you didn't notice. Maybe your deen was becoming weaker around them. Maybe you were compromising your values just to keep them. Maybe they were taking your energy, your confidence, your time, or your peace in ways you weren't ready to admit. And Allah, out of His protection, separates you from them before that connection causes long-term damage to your heart or your hereafter. You may cry over that loss now, but one day you will look back and thank Allah that He caused the separation exactly when He did. Sometimes Allah removes a job or opportunity you prayed for. You feel confused because you thought that path would secure your future. But what you didn't see was how that job might have consumed you, how it would have pulled you away from your family, your health, or your worship. You didn't see that the small benefit you were chasing would have cost you something much bigger, your peace, your integrity, or your spiritual foundation. Allah sees the long-term outcome while you only see the moment in front of you. So when He removes something, it's not a loss, it's redirection. There are times when Allah even removes your comfort, your routine, your sense of control, your stability, because comfort can make you stagnant. Comfort can trap you in a life that is far smaller than the one Allah wrote for you. Not every comfortable situation is good for your growth, and not every painful situation is harmful. Sometimes Allah shakes your life because He knows you would never move if He didn't. You might be stuck in an environment where people around you have low expectations, negative energy, or harmful habits. You stay because it's familiar. You tolerate it because it's normal for you. But normal doesn't mean beneficial. And Allah removes you from that circle so you can finally breathe, think clearly, and elevate yourself spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. If Allah didn't pull you out, you might spend years shrinking yourself just to fit in. You may be praying for strength, but how can you become stronger while surrounded by people who keep you weak? You may be asking for clarity, but how can you see clearly while living in an environment clouding your judgment? You may be begging Allah for growth, but how can you grow while holding on to something that blocks every direction He wants you to move in? Growth requires space. Growth requires change. Growth requires a shift in your surroundings, your habits, your companions, and sometimes your entire path. And Allah, in His mercy, clears what is blocking you, even when you don't want to let go. Think of it like pruning a tree. When a gardener cuts away branches, it looks harsh, even destructive. But the gardener doesn't cut to harm the tree, he cuts to strengthen it. The removal allows new branches to grow stronger, healthier, and fuller than before. Without the removal, the tree weakens. It becomes unbalanced. It grows in unhealthy directions. Your life is no different. Allah removes what is stopping you from growing, even when the removal hurts. Some losses are actually protection. Some endings are actually beginnings. Some separations are actually upgrades. Some closures are actually openings for something better. But you only see the wisdom once the dust settles. There are things you're praying for right now that Allah wants to give you, but He can't because your hands are full of things that are blocking that blessing. Your heart is tied to something that leaves no space for what's coming. Allah removes what you think you want to make space for what you truly need. My brothers and sisters, the truth is this: you cannot rise while holding on to what keeps you low. And Allah will not let you stay attached to something that will harm you in the long run. His removal is mercy disguised as loss, guidance disguised as pain, and elevation disguised as disappointment. So when something leaves your life unexpectedly, instead of thinking, why did this happen? Try asking, what was this blocking that Allah wants to replace with something better? Because Allah never takes from a believer except to give them something greater, either in this world or in the one that truly matters. One of the most misunderstood qualities in faith is patience. Many people think patience means doing nothing, sitting still, waiting quietly, accepting whatever happens without action. They treat patience as if it's a passive state, a spiritual pause button where you simply endure life. without movement. But that is not patience. That is resignation. That is helplessness. That is surrender to circumstance, not surrender to Allah. Real patience is strength. Real patience is discipline. Real patience is active, not passive. And when life falls apart, this lesson becomes clearer than ever. Patience is holding your heart steady while your world feels unstable. It is moving forward one step at a time, even when you have no clarity, no guarantees, and no immediate answers. It is refusing to let fear dictate your decisions. It is doing your part, trusting Allah to do His, and understanding the difference between control and reliance. Patience is not allowing your emotions to drag you into bitterness or despair. It is not letting your mind spiral into panic every time something goes wrong. It is not rushing into decisions out of anger or desperation. Patience gives you the internal space to respond with wisdom instead of reacting out of pain. When Allah tells us He is with the patient, He is not talking about people who sit and wait for miracles without taking action. He is talking about those who stay consistent in their good efforts even while the results remain unseen, those who continue to pray even when they don't feel immediate relief, those who continue to work even when progress seems slow, those who continue to trust even when the road is dark. Real patience is refusing to give up when giving up would be the easier choice. Many people think patience is the ability to tolerate the test. But the real test is what you do during that tolerance. Some people wait while complaining, some wait while doubting, some wait while giving in to negativity. Others wait while continuing to build, improve, strive, and purify their hearts. Patience is not measured by how long you wait. It's measured by how you behave while waiting. My brothers and sisters, when Allah tests you, you're not expected to sit still. You're expected to hold yourself together. You're expected to keep moving forward, even if you're exhausted, even if you're grieving, even if you're uncertain. You're expected to keep your faith alive, your character intact, and your connection to Allah strong. That is real patience. Think about the people you admire, prophets, scholars, righteous individuals. Not one of them lived an easy life. Not one of them avoided tests, and not one of them responded to hardship by giving up. They kept going, they kept striving, they kept trusting. Their patience was active, consistent effort. Look at the story of Yusuf. Years of betrayal, separation, injustice, imprisonment. But he didn't collapse into hopelessness. He didn't lose himself. He didn't sit in a corner waiting for Allah to change everything. He worked, he improved himself, he served others, he maintained his dignity, he kept his heart clean even against those who wronged him. That is patience. Or look at the mother of Musa. She placed her baby in the river not because she wanted to, but because she trusted Allah's command. She didn't just sit in despair, she acted in obedience and faith. That is patience. Patience means doing what's right even when you're hurting. It means taking the path of discipline when your emotions want the path of destruction. It means staying committed to your prayers, your morals, your responsibilities, your self-respect, and your growth even when life feels unfair. Patience is the battle between your impulses and your values, and choosing your values every time. One of the most powerful aspects of patience is that it keeps you from trying to force what Allah has not written. When people panic, they try to manipulate outcomes, chase what is running from them, cling to things that are leaving, or reopen doors Allah has clearly shut. Patience stops that self-destruction. It helps you pause long enough to see the wisdom in the redirection. Patience does not mean you don't feel pain. It means you don't let pain dictate who you become. And here is a reality many avoid. Patience is painful. It stretches you. It pushes you. It requires emotional control. It demands that you take responsibility for your reactions instead of blaming the world. But it also transforms you. It molds you into someone stronger, calmer, wiser, more grounded, and more connected to Allah. Patience is one of the clearest signs of spiritual maturity. Immaturity reacts, maturity responds. Why do you think Allah promises reward without measure for those who are patient? Because patience is not just enduring hardship, it's elevating through hardship, it's growing through hardship, it's doing the right thing even when the wrong thing would give you temporary relief. My brothers and sisters, understand this clearly. Patience is not weakness. It is some of the strongest strongest work you will ever do. Anyone can fall apart. Anyone can collapse. Anyone can react with anger, fear, or impulsiveness. But patience is the